Welcome to Tech Brothers with Ahmed. Today we have a scenario in which we have multiple folders inside one of our main folder. But for our SSIS package, we want to load only files from some specific folders, not all of them, which are assigned to our SSIS package. The folder paths are saved with SSIS package name in a table. We want to extract the folder paths and then load the files to a SQL Server Table in SSIS package. So what does that mean? Here we have different folders in main folder that can be in any other folder, doesn't have to be in the inside the input folder. That is our main folder here, but in my scenario I just put in under one so I can show you and I don't have to go and find them in different places. So you can have the folder anywhere on any path, and then these folders contain some files. So here we have customer AS that has only one record, and in other I have EU which has two files. So I have 3 history and then I have another record in the second file, and then I have NA file. So that's in the customer NA folder. Now what we are doing here, if we want to just loop through these folders, we can use the for each loop and load all of those files. All the files have the same structure and we will be loading to the same table. Now the thing is, according to our scenario, we don't want to load all the files, but we want to extract the file from some specific folders which are given in some table. Now let me show you a table. Here we have created a table called DBO files to load, and this has package name and it has a folder path. Sorry, let me make this correction. So we have a folder path here. Let's drop this table, and then table doesn't exist, so that's good. Now we created this table, and then I have inserted 2 records in that has package name, and second part it has the folder paths from which we want to load the files. So that's great. Next I'm gonna come here and show you certain things what we are going to learn in this video. How to create table to store folder path and SSIS package name, we have done that already. How to extract required records folder paths in the SSIS package from a SQL Server Table by using Execute SQL Task. So from here we will be extracting. I have created package name and folder path. There could be multiple packages that we can put the entries in this table and use for different packages. That's why I have a package name and folder paths. So that's good technique actually when you are loading files from different folders and you are using multiple SSIS packages. You can use these columns and extract the required records for that package by using the package name. Next we will be learning why we use the full result set in this case. Then the next we are going to go and say, okay, from object type variable that we have save the record in the execute SQL task, and how to loop through and get the one value at a time by using for each loop, and then how we will use that value and loop through the files from that folder. So we will be using nested for each loop container in this example. And then we have how to use the variable values in the connection manager to change the connection manager path for the file on each of the load. And last thing, how will we archiving those files. So let's start with the second point. Now first of all we have to create a package, and we will be name that package exactly the same what we have saved in this table. Right click, create a new SSIS package, rename by clicking here, and then you can control V or write it by yourself, and we have renamed this package. Now the very first thing, we have to extract the folder paths. So how we are gonna do it? We will be using Execute SQL Task here, and I'm gonna name this one. We can call ESQL Execute SQL Task get folder paths or path. So here we will be using a query. We have to first make a connection. So we will make a new connection, and I already have a connection manager. I'm going to delete it, create a new one for you so you can see. So we have to provide the server name. Click here. That will get us servers or SQL Server instance. You can write by yourself if you want. And then here we have to provide the database name. Test the connection, all look good, hit OK. Here we will be writing our query. So how we will be writing our query? We will be selecting, if you see from here, we need the folder path. So I'm going to use the same query, and here I will say folder path, and where consider we have multiple packages and paths, and we want to only get the folder paths or folder paths for this package, and we have to write the where clause, right? We will say package name is equal to this, right? Now what we see here, we can pass this and we can hard code, but later if your package name does change and that is a possibility, you made some corrections and all that, you don't want to hard code these values such as package name here. What I will do, I will take this query and I will go here and I will put a question mark, and then I will map this question mark with the package name coming from the package SSIS package itself. So that we will use the system variable, and that will give us that package name. In this case, let's say if your package name has changed, you only have to make one update in this table just for the package, and you don't have to go to SSIS package and change it because it will be coming from package name itself. Okay, now we go to parameter mapping, add a mapping, and here we will be providing our package name. Package name input, and this is varchar. We know that is a string, so we don't have a string here, so we have to have use varchar or varchar. Here varchar we have it. So and then parameter name you have to provide 0 because this is the first parameter. Now we are all set. Here, as we will be getting multiple records that can, in this case we are getting only 2 records. When we run this query, we will be getting 2 records. So what we have to do here, we have to save that results somewhere, and here we have to select the results set type. We have single row. In our case, these are more than one row. We are already getting 2 rows, and we have to go for full result set. In full result set, you can save multiple rows that can have one column, or they can have multiple columns. In our case, we have only one column, but we are getting multiple rows. So we have to select full result set. Now to save the full result set, we come here in the result set tab and add. And here we have to provide 0. If I would not provide 0, it will give me error. So that's the first variable. I can't add more than one result set anyways, but for somehow they want you to provide a 0 here, and it's not by default. And here we will be adding a new variable, and we will call it folder path object, and we will be same in as we are getting more than one row, we have to use the object type variable that will be holding our table or a record set in the memory for us. So hit OK. Hit OK. I know the package is going to take some time, and I'm going through each and every step, and kind of I'm slow on few things. What I want to the person who is watching the video take the things step by step with me and learn it, instead of I go too fast and he has to stop so many times and come back and rewatch it. So bear with me, even it will take some time. There are good stuff we are going to learn in this video. Next part is we want to loop through and get one record or the folder path at a time. We will be using for each loop container here. And inside the for each loop container, we can use the object variable, and then we can rename this one and call it get folder path from object variable. Here, double click. Now we have collections, and in the enumerators we have different type of enumerator. Here we have a for each file enumerator, but in our case we will be using a for each ADO enumerator, and we will be providing the object type variable here, and then we have to go to the variable mapping and then map to the variable. We will be creating a new variable and we will call it folder path, and this is string, that's fine. Now the index is already taken a 0. If we have more than one variables that we need to map, and the values will be coming from the object type, we will be adding 1 here, and the index will grow from 0 to 1 to 3 and all the way, like number of depending on number of the columns we have. In our case right now we have only one column, so we have map that to the user folder path. So what is going to happen? For each loop is going to loop through the object type variable, and in the memory that's a record set saved. It will give us one record at a time and save that into the folder path variable. Now we have that's going to happen. The next part, we have to read the files from that folder. So I extracted another for each loop, and here I will say load multiple or single files, and inside here we will be providing a collection, and we are going to use for each file enumerator, but we don't want to hard code as our folder name or folder path is changing. So what we need to do here, we will be going to expressions in the properties and directory, and then we will use that folder path that we extracted from the folder path object variable in the outer for each loop. Now hit OK, and we are interested to read only .txt files, and now we can retrieve multiple information. We can retrieve file name and extension, or we can extract the fully qualified path that will have folder path with file name and extension, or we can have file name only. I will go with fully qualified path. So this is going to return us a folder path and the file name with the extension, and we will be using that further into data flow task to load the files. Now we go to the variable mapping again, and here we create a new variable, and we are going to call this one file full path, and this is going to be string as well, so we are fine. And as we are returning only we need the folder path with the file name, so that's the only variable we have it. Hit OK. Now inside here it is saying path is empty. That's a warning. What we can do, if we go ahead and in the variables, we see that folder path is empty because it did not have any value as of now. We can provide any value to get rid of this warning. Folder path, let's say I will say test, C test. That's not really correct value, because our values will be coming from the table and then from the outer for each loop, and then we will be having the value for the folder path variable. But I just provided it to get rid of that warning, and that value will be overwritten when we will run our SSIS package. The last step here, what we need to do now, we need to load that data from that file. So we bring the data flow task inside the inner for each loop. Here I'm going to load the file. I will be using the flat file source, make a connection to the flat file. As all the files are the same, you can make connection to any file. If you will have different files, you might want to make multiple connections. This package can be converted to very complicated package. You can load different files depending on names and all those kind of things. But in my scenario, all the files have the same structure. My goal is to show you how you can use nested for each loops and how you can use the full result set and also read the values from the SQL Server tables in those cases when we have these type of scenarios. So file name, column names in the first data row is correct, everything is coming right. Go to columns. I have customer ID and name. My customer ID is data type is varchar here. I need to change this one to the integer, so I did change that. Column name, customer is 50, I want to make it 100, that's fine. Hit OK. Retain null values from the source as null values in the data flow. That means if you are getting blank values, you want to convert them to null. This is what you will do. So I select that, hit OK. Last part here, we need to load that to SQL Server Table. I already have created a table called DBO customer, and if I will go and show you, it has a customer name and customer ID. We can truncate this table. Let's truncate so we would know that what we are doing, and we will be using the same table to load the multiple files from different folders in this package. Sorry, instead of saying new the connection is there, I should be just using the drop down and say DBO customer, map the columns. The columns are mapped automatically because they are the same name on the input side and the destination side. If you will have different, then you can click here and then map them according to the requirement or whatever you feel like this is the correct input column for the destination column. Hit OK. Now we are all good. But if you see here, what we did, we made the connection in the flat file source. We are not changing that. If I run this package now, what's going to happen, it is going to loop through, but every time it will load the same file. We didn't change, we didn't use this variable that we have collected file full path. We are making a hard code connection manager here, so we need to use this variable. I will go to the flat file connection manager properties. Now here in the expressions, I will click here, go to the properties, and in the connection string I'm going to use that variable. So I will be using. So what happened here, we don't see that variable at all. So one thing, I want to go ahead and take a look in the variables. If you see here, that variable file full path is not here, and we are on the package level. But if I will click here on the inner or nested for each loop, I have that value. So the connection manager cannot use it. It is on package level, and we have that variable on the nested for each loop. What we can do, we can change the scope here. So let's see how we can change the scope. Let's click here. Sorry, that's expressions, and now I want to change the scope, move variable. Okay, here when we click here in the move variable, we can change it to the package level, or we can change to the executables. If you are using old versions such as SSIS 2005 or 2008, you will not be able to change the scope by using this move variable. This is a new feature in 2012 and 2014. That's the only place you can use this and move or change the scope. In the old version, you have to delete the variable and then create on the package level. So you will click anywhere in the control flow and then create a new variable, and then you will be deleting the old one that is on nested for each loop. So, but we have the facility here to change that. I'm going to change the scope of this variable to the package level, so it will be available on entire package, and all the objects such as connection manager or any other tasks can use that. Now go to the flat file connection manager, expressions, connection string, click here, variables. Now we see that the variable is available. So you know, and now you understand the scope. So scope is the availability of a variable according to the package or to the task level or the container level. So you can change that. This is something like you have local variables and global variables. So if you create on package level, they can be seen by all the tasks or containers or event handlers. And if you will be creating on some specific for each loop container, that might not be available on the global level. So I suggest create the variables on package level, and you know, if you need to use multiple variables with the same name, you can use it and have them on different scope. So here we will be using file full path, click OK. Now we are all good. The last part we have to do, once the file is loaded, we want to archive that file to some folder. Here we will be using flat file, file system task to move that file from input to the archive folder. Now we need a variable where we can save the archive path. We can hard code, but I don't want to do it. I want to use the variable. Let's create a variable so we can change the value by using configuration if we need to. I will be creating arch file folder, archive folder, string type. Here I will provide the path of that folder. We are all good. Let's make some space. Here is the source path variable is a variable. Yes, it is. So we are going to use the variable. We will use the source variable. We know that we have saved the file full path. Now that's the file full path. That's the folder plus file name plus extension. So we can provide this value. Then yes, is destination path is a variable. Yes, it is. Okay, what it is? So archive folder. And then if the file exists already, we want to overwrite it. That's fine. Now what we see here, it is still showing us a cross mark. It is in file full path is used as a source, does not have any value. That's also a problem with the file system task. It will try to validate, and if there is no value, it will say, okay, there is no value, I'm failing it. So you can see that you can go ahead in the variables, and here file full path, say my file full path. Even this is totally wrong. I mean, doesn't make any sense. There is no drive we're using, no UNC path. But let's go back here, and now if we open it, close it, the red cross or mark is gone. So you provide some value, whatever, it will be overwritten anyways, and that's how it will work. Now save your package. Let's run our SSIS package. See, in the archive folder we don't have any file. In the table we don't have any records. Let me write my select query. Sorry, it was already there, so whatever. Run the SSIS package. We can see that all the files are loaded successfully. It blowing couple of times, it means it's loading some files and different files. Let's go to the archive folder. So we see that it has archived Asia file, it have archived 2 European file. But if we go to the input folder, what happened? Here the file for North America is still there because it never took the file for North America, as we have provided the path in the table for only Asia and Europe. So that's the only 2 paths it is taken. It is not taken any other value, even they are in the same main folder. So that's how it will work. If we go to archive, as we have seen that 3 files, 1 for Asia, 2 for Europe, are archived correctly. The package completed successfully. The last thing we need to test is go ahead and check the records. So this table should have 3 records, 1 from each file. So we can see that 1 Ahmed, 2 Chris Street, 3 John. Now one more time, if we want to run this SSIS package and make sure overwriting is working and other things are working correctly, we can cut these files from here. Let's Control Z. Hold on 1 second. Too many things. So copy. Let's paste it here again. I don't want to cut it. Actually, I want to just copy because I want to see if the overwriting part is working correctly as well. Go to input folder, go to Asia. Here we have Asia, here we have Europe. So what happened here? Actually, one thing we missed here, in the file system task, we copied the files, we never moved them. So here we need to change to the move file. Sorry, I was just in the archive. We don't need to copy, we need to move the files. So that's good. We are good because the files are in the source and then they are already in the archive. So we will run our package and see if they are moved this time correctly. And let's go to Asia. I want to do one more thing. I want to say Asia, and then in each record for Europe, I want to show you, put the Europe at the end, or EU. So you will see these records are coming from these files. Let's run the package. Now the package ran successfully. This time in the archive folder, the files are overwritten. We can see the time, and then we go to the input folder. Those files should not be there. Then they are not there because they are moved this time. Last time we missed here and we kept them copy, but now this time we are moving them. Let's go to the table, run the package, run the select statement, and we see that these are the 3 records coming from different file, 1 coming from Asia and 2 are coming from EU. So that's how you will be building your SSIS package with nested for each loops, where you can read the values from objective variable in the outer, and then you can be using that value inside the that for each loop to loop through the folder path for all the files in that folder and load them and archiving them as well. Thanks very much for watching this video, and I will see you in next video.